Welcome to Pivot and Thrive. I'm Karin McCarthy, founder of Vermont Collaborative Circle, a community resource for entrepreneurs dedicated to making Vermont the place where businesses and families thrive. We're showcasing entrepreneurs and business leaders who are demonstrating creativity, collaboration, and resilience with the hope that we can learn from each other and we can accelerate the pace of small business success in Vermont. Today, I'd like to start with a recognition of the Abenaki people on whose land we are recording today. We appreciate the Abenaki people as the past, present, and future caretakers of the Dawnland, Vermont, and unceded territory. We are recording today, and I'm really just so pleased to be able to share the story of Laura Neal of Malas and Mandalas. Laura is a jewelry maker and yoga mindfulness teacher whose goal is to give people tools to stay grounded and present, as well as connect to their true purpose. We'll be having a Q&A at the end, so if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them in the chat, and we'll be sure to address them before we close. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, Laura. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and about your business.
Cool. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Laura Neal, and my business is called Malas and Mandalas. So I got started with this business around 2017, and kind of just started from my inspiration with yoga, with meditation, with being creative. And it kind of just started on its own. I wasn't really planning on starting a business, but I can share my story a little bit of how it started.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I started being inspired by yoga and meditation when I was in college, and I majored in religious studies. And so I kind of just found out that there was a lot of different perspectives to have on how to live your life and how to create meaning in the world. And I really was drawn toward Eastern religions like Buddhism and Taoism and Hinduism. So from there, when I graduated, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I started to travel a little bit. And I ended up going to India. And so when I was there, I decided to do a yoga teacher training. Yeah, so I was there for 2 weeks, and I had one of the most just like amazing and centering experience of my life during that time. We were doing yoga from 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. So
Wow.
It was exhausting, but it was really, really beautiful. And I just love the way that, I guess, spirituality and intentionality and presence was such a big part of people's daily lives there. And ritual and chanting and songs and like magic was just so present in their life. And so I wanted to help bring that essence back to where we live. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to do that, but basically I found out about mala bead necklaces. So I can show, this is what they look like. It's a long necklace that has 108 beads, and then it has a tassel on the end. And they're for counting mantras when you're meditating. So when you're counting mantras, you're meant to say the mantra 108 times. And when you get all the way around to the other end of the tassel, you know that it's been 108 times. So I got one made for me at a little shop. A little shop there. They custom made me one, and I loved having like the physical tool with me. And so right before I left, I wanted to buy some beads. I still don't remember why, but I just remember that I had like 20 minutes left. So I ran down to the shop, bought the beads, almost missed my taxi to get to the airport, and then just like flew home with the beads. And then when I got home, I made four different malas. And someone said, you should go bring them to a local store. And I was like, okay. So I went to the local store, asked her if she wanted to sell them. And she said, yes. So I posted about it on Instagram. And then a yoga festival, Vermont Be True Yoga Festival, that they were having their first year there. And they reached out to me on Instagram and asked if I wanted to be a vendor. And
oh my goodness.
I just said yes. I was like, I have no idea what this means. I don't have any product, but I think I should just do it. So I said yes. I showed up having absolutely no idea what was going to happen. And it was such an amazing weekend. I made money, sold my jewelry, and I also got to do yoga and meditation the entire week or weekend. And I also met so many really, really cool people who were interested in that kind of stuff. It just felt like I like found my place kind of. Um, and I was like, wow, I guess I can do this. And it just kind of kept going. Like I didn't plan to really turn it into something big. It was just kind of like a side thing. And the more that it's kind of like picked up its own momentum, the more I think I've like gotten out of my shell and just realized that I want to share knowledge and practices and so much more than just jewelry with people.
Wow. I love how you have shown openness in, you followed your passion in studying what really interested you and what you felt a personal connection with. And then you had this experience, and then you continued to say yes as new opportunities arose. And then through that, we're able to connect, what has been a training of, understanding religious studies and connection and practices, rituals and practices, and then ways that you can help others to invite that into their lives and make a business out of it in the process. Brilliant.
Yeah, I think I think it's just yeah, I think it was just like more following my passion and just
Yeah.
I think learning about different religions kind of helped me cultivate the mindset too of like I don't have to go down this traditional path because there's so many different ways that you can live your life. And when we're born in America or one country, we feel like that's the only way.
Mm.
And I totally understand why that is the mindset. But I think I was just lucky enough to have this experience where I first learned about these different places and then I ended up traveling a lot, so I saw them too, which was really cool. I was always thinking, oh, this is like the anthropological study of like these religions because I visited all these different countries and I went to temples and I just got to like see it in real life. And I think that also kind of just like kept me going, like you should just keep saying yes. And once you do keep saying yes and you see that things fall into place, you learn to like trust your intuition.
Did you have mentors in this practice, or people like who helped you in your early life thinking about rituals and practices and behaviors that helped to set you up for this success in cultivating this mindset for yourself?
Interesting question. Well, it's funny because so when I was growing up, my granny, she was from West Virginia. She lived with us for 15 years and was kind of like a parent to me. And recently I was thinking about her because I remembered, especially being with my family, I remembered she had crystals and I remember she had like these books, like the Four Agreements was on her bookshelf. And I was always wondering, because I know she had a niece that she was saying was kind of into this stuff. And I couldn't remember if she liked it or not. But when I was talking to my parents more the other day, they were like, oh, yeah, she was into that. She has like a painting in her bathroom that's like about tarot cards and stuff like that. So I was like, I think that influenced me more than I knew. And
Hmm.
she was really independent and just like went her own way and didn't really care about what anyone thought. So I definitely think she played an influence on me. And then um, I remember there was one class I took in college that it was a yoga class, but every single tutorial we did a different style of yoga.
Hmm.
So that was really cool. I think I was always interested in like art and philosophy from a young age. I took a lot of art and philosophy classes in high school. And then I think um, yoga teachers, there was one yoga teacher who really, really inspired me. She moved to New York, but when I came back from India, I wanted to do yoga every day, but I was like, I don't know how I'm going to afford this. So I started volunteering at a studio and helping them clean a little bit. And I would go to this one teacher's vinyasa class. Her name was Chasey. And it was like just us most of the time. And she also did Grateful Dead hour yoga. And she was just like so powerful, but so soft spoken and
Mm.
really inspired me. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people along the way that I've kind of like picked up on.
It's amazing how you can realize, like, maybe our dominant culture tells us that power shows up in a certain way,
Mhm.
and that when we open ourselves up to other influences, we can see power can be made through vulnerability or through creativity or connection with other people. And so, the one kind of archetype of power
Mhm,
that we might envision in American culture,
mhm,
certainly isn't the only way of being in our culture, but certainly not in the world. And so that you've
mhm,
had the opportunity in your personal life with your family, your yoga teachers, your professors, to envision other ways of connecting with people and sharing
mhm.
ideas and drawing power and inspiration from that. I think that's really inspiring to me. Can you
Thank
tell me about the name of your business? What does Malas and Mandalas mean?
So yes, I'm trying to remember of how I came up with this name. I think obviously mala bead necklaces, that's where malas came from. And then mandalas, they're geometric shapes. And originally where they come from is Buddhist monks make these really, really, really intricate designs out of sand. So they take like days to make these really, really beautiful, precise geometric shapes. And then once they've made that, they just swipe it away. Like they just destroy it. And it's really just a representation of impermanence. And
Mm,
that was really powerful to me. I've had a lot of experience and just thoughts about the idea of impermanence, and I really liked that idea. And so I used to paint mandalas on rocks, and like I included some mandala coloring cards in my Christmas boxes. So um, that's where mandalas kind of comes in. It's definitely like the smaller part, but I just came up with that name and it was catchy, although sometimes hard to pronounce. And I just kind of stuck with it.
I like it.
Yeah.
You just mentioned Christmas boxes. Can you tell us
Yeah.
what that was about?
Sure. So, over the holidays, I had this idea that I wanted to make something that people could either gift to their loved ones from afar or get for
Mm,
themselves. And at one point, I was almost thinking it as like a quarantine toolbox or like a self care kit, or just like these are the little things you can keep with you to help you like get by. So I created those, which was really, really awesome. I tried to make them really cute and pretty and fun. And I included things like essential oil diffusing bracelets, essential oil samples. Some of them had rollers of essential
mm,
oil. And then I included a mantra card. So a little card with some of my favorite mantras, mandala coloring card. And then I also paired with a local woman in Stowe. Her brand is Mother of Stone. And
mm.
she gave me these really awesome tie-dye masks.
Cool.
Um, and I also had a bath salt. Yeah. So it was just like a fun little kit to bring some joy and light.
Yeah, a little pick me up for sure. I think everybody needs that right now. That's really smart of you to, provide that in an accessible way and at a time of year when people are kind of making um, generosity and gifting a part of their
Mhm.
life, to align that, I think was smart on your behalf. Do you
Yeah.
have other collaborations that you're working on? What are your goals or
Yeah.
hopes for building your business?
I'm not actively working on any collaborations right now. I am working on making a box for Valentine's Day,
Fun.
um, which I'm really excited about because I use a lot of like color and vibrancy in my stuff, and so I kind of have a fun idea for Valentine's Day with some little like charms and things. And I'm thinking of doing a box that's kind of like self-love related. So rose quartz and that kind of theme that you could send to a loved one or keep for yourself. So I'm really excited about that, which
I
will
like that
be
idea.
coming out pretty soon.
Do the stones that you choose have different properties, or do you have different intentions with the alignment of the beads or necklaces that you're creating?
Yeah, so all the stones have different properties, and basically either I choose them or someone else can tell me like what they need. That's one of my favorite things to do is someone will come to me and say like, "Hey, I want to gift this to so and so, and I feel like they could use this and they could use this, or this is
Mm,
what they're like." And so then I kind of choose the stones based on that. It's really like a fun, intuitive process. Um, but yeah, when I started working with stones, I wanted to know how they gave us their energy. I was like, I need to know the science behind this because I know they're really popular, but I wanted to know why. Um,
mm,
so I got this really cool book when I was traveling, and it's called Elemental Energy. And basically talks about how energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed So the energy that's present when the gemstones are created is the energy that is transferred to us in our skin. So that's where they get their properties from, is like the creation process. So whether
Interesting.
slow or fast or hot or cold, that will determine whether it's grounding or like invigorating. Um, and I also think there's just something to be said about setting intentions in general and choosing stones that you feel like you want to bring that energy into the world. Because I know a lot of people that have bought in my jewelry before have said, like, that have felt it really worked. So they're looking for grounding or they're looking for peace, and then they choose the stone that has that property. And it's amazing how just by setting that intention and putting it out into the universe, they already feel that coming back, like regardless of if there's a stone there or not. I think that setting intentions is so powerful because you're making that statement to the universe and maybe to other people as well. And so then it starts to show up for you.
I think that's so true. And I think what is particularly cool about or powerful about the way that you've aligned your business is that you're helping people to set intentions, and then you're supporting them and creating the behaviors that reinforce those intentions.
Mhm.
Because it's, and we're in this, we're in the season of New Year's resolutions where everyone sets intentions for the year, and they
Mhm.
go to the gym, and then they slow down, and then they stop going to the gym, or whatever it is that they do. But as you have aligned your business with the mandalas, with the malas, you have created invitations for people to show up and
Mhm.
keep investing and inviting those practices into their lives. So I think that that's a really powerful way to support um, mindset and behavior connected, and
Yeah.
to empower people in continuing those practices is really smart.
Yeah, I think that something that's come to mind for me a lot this year is just that um, it's like the idea of a daily practice. So just the idea that we in our society, there's always going to be things trying to pull us away or distract us, whether it's like our phone or making money and all of that stuff. So it's really important that we have these tools like every single day,
Mm,
if we want to stay aligned with what our purpose is and who we are and what our goals are. I think that daily practice is just something, or like weekly practice at least, just incorporating these little things, whether it just be like a guided meditation or a yoga class or a journaling prompt, like just bringing yourself back to that every day so that you don't stray as far. So I definitely think it's like work, but I also think that it's so meaningful, and the more that you incorporate it into your everyday life, like the more, I guess, freedom and lightness you do feel, and the easier it gets and the more enjoyable it gets. Like
yeah.
these practices are all so that we can enjoy our lives more and suffer less.
And I think that it's reaffirming. So, you set these intentions, you start the practices, your body chooses the neural pathways that are most trafficked. So when you continue to create those, invite those practices into your life, then they reaffirm your beliefs and your behaviors and the intention that you've set, your mindset. You see yourself getting closer to achieving that because you keep going back. It
Mhm,
becomes a more and more readily accessible tool
mhm,
for you in managing emotions, and it aligns so well with brain science.
mhm,
And so I think it's just really cool that you have structured your business in a way that supports human beings flourishing. Great. The world needs more of that. We absolutely need more of that.
yeah.
Thank you. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about running a business? Like, what are some of the challenges? You're doing this solo. What are some of the challenges that you've experienced?
Mhm.
What are you working through? What could this community help you with?
Yeah. So I think one of the challenges has just been doing everything alone. um, it's just, yeah, I think there's a lot of unseen parts, whether it be like researching packaging or sourcing stones or making little tags. Like I include a little tag on every single piece of jewelry with the stones and the properties, which
Wow.
and I'm always trying to kind of like unify things. Like I should get down to 10 styles. I should just do 10 bracelets and 10 necklaces, but that's takes the fun out of it for me. And so I'm like, well, I'll do more work and I'll make the little tags. And I love doing custom pieces for people. So I think, yeah, just the fact that there can always be more that you can be doing is kind of difficult sometimes too, just because if you're taking time off, you're, like losing business.
Mm,
But I think so. I think that it's difficult sometimes to find the balance between like push and rest. But I know something I've learned is just that rest is just as important, and that yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup. So when you're taking time to fill yourself back up, that's so that you can give better for others.
mm.
That's something I'm kind of doing right now.
What do you do to fill your cup?
So I love to get outside. Recently, I've been taking a lot of nature walks and going snowshoeing and putting my phone away more. Like I sometimes go for walks with music, but the other day when I went into the woods, I was like, you know what, I don't need to listen to music today. And I was mentioning this to you earlier, but I think it's really beautiful when we give ourselves that silence and we can reconnect and we start to have original ideas again, because that was something I was feeling that was maybe showing I needed a break, was like I'm not having ideas that are all my own. I'm feeling like I'm working off of other people's ideas, but it's so inspiring when you go out and you have like an original thought or an original idea.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think just taking space really helps. Yoga and meditation, obviously, I love to do yoga. And just like yeah, just giving yourself time and not like a schedule, just doing whatever feels right to you. Maybe that's taking a nap or maybe that's getting outside, but I think it's just listening to your body
Mhm.
and seeing what you need.
I think that I think it's so true, and that we don't allow ourselves to be truly bored and then inspired.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
how, like, you think about you talked about the artists and philosophers who
Mhm.
inspired your passions early on, and that you had a deep connection even from being a young person. If those people had things that they could just be, well, maybe they had like actual scrolls that they were reading, but if they were scrolling the way that we do every day, they probably wouldn't have had the time to like really wrestle with their inner thoughts and questions, and lay the foundation for what our structures of thinking are now. So
Yeah.
I absolutely think you're right that it's powerful to be with yourself,
Mhm.
sit with your thoughts. There is a lot of thinking to be doing and wrestling with right now in our world, and thinking about how we can show up for each other, and use our businesses as an agent of good in the community, and of positive change. So it sounds to me like you're inspiring other people in the way that they're behaving. How are you communicating to your audience in what has been an incredibly challenging, difficult year, an
Mm.
isolating year for many people, a year that's really steep in trouble, social unrest, and injustice? How
Yeah.
are you helping people to navigate the emotions that they're feeling, and the real challenges that we're facing as a nation right now? No pressure,
Okay.
just
Yeah.
we need a little help here.
Yeah. So, well, I communicate, I would say, to my people mostly through Instagram. Um, that's been a really great tool, and I've been able to reach a lot of people through that. And more recently, I've been posting videos with just kind of like an idea in mind, and then I'll just talk about it for a while, which has been really cool because I've
Mm,
definitely like I've opened up to sharing what I feel like is knowledge or my own experiences more, and that's really allowed me connect deeper with people. In terms of social justice, I think that for me, it's kind of scary to start like unlearning these things that we've been programmed to learn. But I think just being open to the knowledge that's coming in and just doing your best at sharing information and like being a voice with your business and just knowing that you're gonna like stumble through it probably, but I think that's okay. Like I think it's okay to stumble through it and just do what you can. And just just educate yourself. That's what I've
Mm,
really been trying to do. I did a couple collaborations in the summer where we donated the money. That was really awesome. And just like start having those conversations with people, even if you feel like you're going to sound like you have no idea what you're talking about, that's okay. Like we were set up to get to this place where we don't know what happened. So unlearning is a process, and I think just being open to like messing up and just knowing that you're coming from a place of like genuine love and compassion and doing your best has
mhm.
been, like what I've been trying to do, because it can definitely be overwhelming. But I just think just showing up from a place of like love and wanting to spread love and peace will always be
Mhm.
felt. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right in thinking about, the unlearning process and how we have to make that a part of our habit of like reassessing, auditing, questioning as if it's the air we breathe, the water we take in, what are the values that we're holding? How are we um, qualifying truths in our lives and understanding who's empowering them and who's enabling them and who we choose to, the people that we empower with the voices we elevate with our amplify with our businesses or um, support the way that we show up and support each other in community. So I absolutely appreciate that. Um, if you, if there's something that this community could help you with,
mhm,
what would that be? Are there goals that you have or projects that you're thinking about and curious about?
mhm.
What would be something that the community could help you in launching or elevating?
I would say I'm definitely looking to connect people in groups more
Mm,
this coming year, and I'm leading some classes through CVU Access program. They do adult learning classes, so I'm leading a class on Buddhism, which I'm pretty excited about, and also one on yoga philosophy and practice, and also a mala bead making class. So
wow.
yeah, I'm just trying to share more knowledge, I would say, than just jewelry.
Mm,
But I guess just any ways I can connect with the community, like following me on Instagram, and just I told you this earlier, but I would like to create some kind of just circle of connection, not like a women's circle or something specific, but just a place for people to come and kind of open up and just like share stories, maybe have a reading prompt to do, maybe pull a tarot card, just give people like a place where they can come and be seen and be heard
mm.
without like some end goal, just for being. So I would say stay tuned to hear about
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's great. And we do have a workshop with you next week. I'm really excited. If you're interested and available, please join us. Laura's going to be doing a everyday mindfulness workshop, helping us to invite mindfulness practice. And we'll send you a link after this. So stay tuned for an immediate next step that you could take following this workshop, following this interview. I'm excited for that opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to just to give people, I kind of want it to just be like tools that you can incorporate into your everyday life, and just give people a kind of like sample of just like the ways, the really easy ways that they can bring mindfulness and meditation into their lives, because I know a lot of the time it can be kind of intimidating. But I feel like I found little ways to do that. So I just want to give people that experience and hopefully give them something that they can take away with them into their daily lives, that they can turn to when things get hard or they get frustrated, instead of, feeling kind of like hopeless or letting emotions get the best of you. You can turn to one of these things and have an outlet for that and not lose your inner peace.
Mm, I think that's really timely and powerful and important.
Mhm.
Um, you mentioned, and I think you do a fantastic job of this, sharing and connecting with your audience and how you have recently started just kind of talking through some of your ideas.
Mhm.
Public speaking sets most people into panic mode. Can you talk about how you have overcome that? How have you used
Mhm.
your practice to put yourself out in the world in a new way that might have made you uncomfortable using technology to go live and
Mhm.
talk in front of people, but you use it as a really powerful tool. So how are you tapping into that?
Um, I would say that something that I've definitely learned this year in business, like as I mentioned in the beginning, I kind of started making the jewelry and I studied religion, so I didn't know much about business. So I've been taking a business course kind of and more groups with women who have their own businesses. And I think something that I've really learned is that when you show up as your authentic self and you like share from the heart, that people will respond and people will hear that and just like not being afraid um of not appealing to everyone. I think that's also something I've really learned is that you're not going to be for everyone, but the people that you are going to be for aren't going to hear you if you're trying to be for everyone. So
Mm,
just tap into like your unique gifts, tap into your unique brain, share those original thoughts, and the people that you resonate with will like they'll feel that deeply. And I think that's the experience that I've had lately with sharing those videos is I've gotten some messages that are just like, oh my gosh, this idea, like I'm so on board with this. And it really means a lot to have that kind of connection where people really feel and see you as opposed to just like smaller, like liking your posts and things like that. I feel like
mhm,
it helps me connect deeper and it just helps me more connect to like what I feel my purpose is and just living not in fear. Um,
mhm,
which I think is like oftentimes one of the things that hold us back. But yeah, I think for me it all comes back to that place of just like studying religion and going my own way and just saying like there's a million different ways to do things. So do whatever makes you happy. And I just know that when you show up from a place of love and authenticity that people can feel that. Like you just can't go wrong.
I think that that is so right and true. And I'm curious if I know that, your response will probably be fully or more fully answered in your workshop, but for people who are coming like in that feeling that seed of fear, that place of discomfort,
Mhm,
what's the first step that you might suggest for someone
mhm,
who is interested in um, overcoming that fear and setting forth like moving towards that intention
mhm.
of putting themselves out there?
I would say getting in touch with like who they are for a minute, whether that be from meditation or journaling. And then something I've done before is I'm like, well, where is this fear coming from? Like, what is the worst possible thing that could happen? And I think in business, everyone's had successes and failures. And so I think that you kind of you get used to failing sometimes and you realize that like it's not the end of the world. And so I think when I thought about what's the worst thing that could happen, it's like, well, if everything fails and I end up with no money and no house and like that would be the worst possible thing. But then I know that I will take care of myself and like I trust myself and I know that um I won't let myself get there. So I think it's just kind of listening to that intuition and taking a small step. You don't have to do
Mhm.
crazy at first, but take a small step and see how that goes. And I actually have an example of this that happened recently that's kind of relevant. So I had a friend and he works in like a corporate job and he was just talking about wanting to add more meaning into like his life and his team meetings. And so I said, oh, well, why don't you do this activity? It's called Rosebud Thorn. And so that's just like saying what was the highlight of your week, what was something that was hard, and then what's something you're looking forward to.
Mm.
And he was kind of like, I'm scared. And I was like, yes, I know it's scary, but I promise you that we as humans are on this earth to connect, and everyone wants that opportunity, whether they, I think, realize it or not. Like we are all, that's what we're here for. That's what makes us feel alive and happy, and human relationships are the thing that fill us up with joy. So he's like, okay. So he said, okay, well, I'm going to tell him about it. And then the next week we'll do it. And I was like, okay. And I was like, no, he was like, I don't know. I think people might think it's dumb. And I was like, no, I promise you they want to do it. And so he actually called me this morning and told me he did it. And he was like, it was so amazing. Multiple people cried. Like, you're so right. People are just looking for this opportunity to open up and connect. But
Wow.
we're not given that often. So I think just really understanding that as humans we're social creatures and we do want to connect, and if you can be the person that can give them that opportunity, they might be scared, they might think it's dumb. People will always have some sort of fear, but just knowing that like you're doing this from a place of love and you are doing people a favor no matter what, they can always choose to pass.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely. I mean, we've evolved as a species
yeah.
because of this ability to connect and communicate and share and see a goal and move it together forward. So I think that you're absolutely onto something, and that you're able to share that with other people, and especially in a corporate setting, you know, where people might really not feel like they can show up as themselves, to invite that space where they can have um, an opportunity to have a voice and to connect with other people in a real human interaction. I think that's really powerful. That's great.
Yeah. And I also think that um, sometimes when we're scared of sharing ourselves, it's like we're scared of rejection, but I think it's more of just like knowing who you are, and almost like it's almost like filtering out to find your people. So it's almost like doing something good for you. You don't want everyone. Like you want people that you're going to connect with, and that's okay. Like the more authentic you are, I think the more you'll find those people, and there's always going to be people that don't resonate with you, and that's fine.
Yeah. Can you reflect on some of the collaborations that you've done? You said with the Christmas boxes that you did, how did you go about finding other businesses that shared a similar brand?
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because I was actually reflecting yesterday when I was thinking about this talk, and I was thinking about the way that I got started doing like wholesale accounts. And it was funny because I realized I just brought my jewelry in person and went into a store and just asked them if they wanted to sell it. Like I just
That's incredibly brave.
but I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I got that courage. I can't imagine doing that now after being in a pandemic for a while, but I think same thing, just knowing that these there's a human there and they're gonna hear your message. But that's kind of what I've done with collaborations as well. Like this woman, Jenna, she lives in Stowe, and I just sent her a message and I was like, hey, do you want to do a collaboration? And she was like, oh, cool, that sounds good. So we had a conversation on the phone, and then we ended up getting to know each other. We met up and exchanged stuff. We actually did like a trade. So she has some of my jewelry, and then she did a photo shoot and she had some of my jewelry in it, which was really cool.
Cool.
So I think just like, yeah, just not being afraid of failure or rejection is really a big message, and just reach out. What's the worst thing that can happen? They can say no, and that's fine too. But a lot of the time I think small business owners and makers, they do want to connect. um, and I did a collaboration. There's a woman, her name is Laura also, and she does knitting. Her name on Instagram is that crafty bitch. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we've done a lot of collaborations together actually, and that's been really, really wonderful. And we've gotten to know each other pretty well. And she does a lot for social justice, and she's been a person that has helped educate me a lot, which has been really cool. So
Mm.
I would say if you feel like there's someone that you're resonating with, and like if your brands align and kind of have the same vibe and the same thing, then you can reach a whole nother network of people by choosing the right person to connect with. I think it's important to think about whether your people are their people, and if they
Mhm.
are, then like that's really amazing, and you can access all those people as well.
I think that's so true. And, you know, we've been really cultured to think about other companies that are like us as competitors, when
Mhm.
really they can help us to elevate our practice. They can help us to, double or expand our audience by connecting to the similar people, knowing what their personas and needs are. And if we can both serve and address them, then we can we can expand our audience through collaboration in a really powerful way. And so that you were able to find partners who aligned well with your brand, and whose audience connected along similar lines as yours. That's fantastic. And I'm so astounded at your bravery and just putting yourself out there and asking, because it's so smart, and it's the thing that when you allow yourself to be motivated by fear, that we don't let ourselves do, because we're like, oh, what if they say no? Well, if you don't ask, then they certainly won't say yes. And so allowing yourself the opportunity sometimes means you have to put yourself out there and do the next smallest terrifying thing that can unlock your potential. So I'm really happy that you've been able to create that relationship with other people, and that you're modeling it for others and helping people to connect with intention and
Mhm,
behavior and mindset so that they can have the tools to move forward in their daily practice,
mhm.
aligning their goals and their business behaviors or personal behaviors to support their well-being. That's great.
Yeah, and I think that the more clear you get, like, with yourself, the more, I guess, like, mindfulness practices you do on your own, the more comfortable you get with the idea of fear and failure just not really being important, like, in the grand scheme of things. And the more you practice, like, those little acts of getting out of your comfort zone and putting yourself out there, the more you learn to trust your intuition, and, like, the more momentum you have going. And I think it's almost like you just have to get started. Like, you just have
Mm,
to take one step. Or I've been sending friends like guided meditations that I do a lot, because people reach out often and they're like, I want to meditate. And I'm like, I can't make you meditate. I can give you the resources. So, like, I try to do everything I can to give people those resources. And I think that once they take the first step, that the universe will send them signs. And it's been clear with, I feel like, a lot of people in my life, and it's really beautiful to watch that unfold and watch them experience that for almost like the first time.
mm.
Yeah.
Thinking about your reflections just now, it made me think about your earlier comment about impermanence and the beauty of the Buddhist monks who were making these mandalas only to, wipe them away at the end. And so we have to do the unlearning of the fear of everything being this culminating moment that everything hinges on this. But
Mhm,
really, if we are recognizing every opportunity as an invitation to
mhm,
bring our best selves and show love and connection with other people, then we'll bring our best energy forward and create something new. It
mhm.
won't be permanent. It's always an opportunity to try something new. And we're recreating in every choice that we make. We're reinventing, we're building it again. So
Mhm.
I think that you're doing that in your work, and you're modeling really that mindset, or I see that you're modeling that mindset, and helping other people to achieve that too. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I would like to say just another word on impermanence, that about an experience that I had that really solidified this idea. I'm not sure if I've told you about this before, but I did this 10-day course called Vipassana. This was like one of the main experiences in my life. I feel like that has led me to where I am today. But it's a 10-day silent meditation course, and you learn this technique where you scan the body for subtle sensations. And then when you feel the subtle sensations, you say, okay, I feel this. I'm not going to label it as good or bad. And I'm just going to move on, because I know it's not going to last forever. And so you end up training your body for 10 days to not react to those sensations. And when you leave, it's kind of like ingrained in you. And I think that the idea of impermanence is so powerful, because if everything is impermanent, then why does fear matter? Like, why does failure matter? Because it's not going to last forever. And that's like
Mm,
the long and the short of it. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's not going to last forever. So we don't need to lose our cool over it. We don't need to live in fear. Like, we only have this short time here, and we might as well just utilize it.
mm.
Yeah.
Laura, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. If folks have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Um, and I, I would love to invite you to talk a little bit, while as people are entering any questions they might have, to talk about the impact that you want to have through your work. So you have created this business. And we've talked about impermanence, but what's the legacy that you want to have?
I think that ultimately my goal is kind of like I said before, just giving people that opportunity to connect, giving them that space, and just giving them the tools to go through life's ups and downs in a more grounded and centered way, so that they can enjoy their lives. Like, I just see so many people that are living in unhappiness and disconnection, and I just I just know that there's another way. And I just know that if we utilize the tools of breath and the tools of mindfulness and connection, that we could live happier. And so I think that ultimately that's my goal, is to just like release people from this cycle of suffering and give them the tools to like live joyfully.
Mm,
And I also really feel, I know I had this thought after Vipassana one time, but I was like, if everyone had to do this at some point in their life, the world would be a completely different place, because we would all have to face our stuff. And I don't think we could come out completely unchanged.
mm,
So I think my goal is just to spread meditation and to be like a spark that will spark someone else. I thought of it, I know this is an interesting thought that I had the other day, was like about coronavirus. And I was thinking about how it was so crazy that it started from one place, but it has traveled and touched almost every single person in our world in some way or another. So I had this thought where I was like, well, what if we had a counter virus that was like mindfulness and kindness and like loving compassion? I think that if everyone made that a goal in their life, to do one act of kindness or be a little bit more thoughtful, ask someone how their day is going, even at the grocery store, that we could end up touching every single person in the world, just like this virus. Like, it can be done. And so I think just working from the inside of me and working to inspire a few people who hopefully will go on to inspire a few people is how we can make a bigger impact.
positive contagion.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that invitation.
Mhm.
Heather in the chat says, thanks so much, Laura. I love the passion you put into each piece. Thank you. Well, if you are interested, please join us, continue the conversation with Laura next week for our mindfulness workshop. I'm really excited for the opportunity to connect with you more and to learn some more really meaningful practices that we can invite into our lives, and ways that we can apply this mindset in our everyday and the way that we show up. So thank you for offering to share that with us. We have a community meetup on Friday, every Friday, for the Pivot and Thrive community. Pivot and Thrive is a small business community resource hub and collaboration space. Laura is a member. Thank you, Laura. And it's a really exciting creative place where people can come together to share what they know, their experience, ask questions, talk about what they're trying out, so that we can learn about the best of what's working in business in a new market. Really, the market has changed so much in the past year. And so we can learn faster and we can succeed in our businesses and in our communities by coming together and connecting and learning from one another. So I hope you'll consider joining for one of our Friday meetups to give it a try. And then we also have workshops and Pivot and Thrive interviews happening every week, and really looking forward to connecting with people more in this space and learning how we can support each other's work through collaboration. If you haven't already done so, I know Heather has, but visit the Malas and Mandalas shop, follow Laura on Instagram, and thank you so much for your support of Vermont small businesses, Vermont artists, women-owned businesses. We're really excited, Laura, for you to share your experience and your story with us. And we hope that sharing this story inspires others to start their business, grow their business, add mindfulness to their practice, and grow together with love.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.